Hey guys, it's Jen and I'm bringing you another layout using my Felicity Jane kits. Today I'm using the October that one day kit, which has lovely autumnal colors, but it's also really versatile for anything else too. I'm doing something a little bit different today, and I'm using this really cute cut file from the Silhouette Design Store, and Felicity Jane is in the Silhouette Design Store, so I'll be sure to link to that below as well as over on my blog where you can find those cut files. But if you just search by designer, you can see all of the cute shapes. There's lots of print and cuts and just regular cut files in there as well. So I'm starting with a white cardstock background, and I'm going to just smush some distress ink on the background. So I'm using a piece of packaging and some water and my distress inks, and then just putting those different colors on the background. So I'm using a mixture of scattered straw. I'm mixing some of that with fired brick to get kind of a reddish orange color, and I'll also use a little bit of tumbled glass mixed with, it's kind of a purpley color, let me look at it really quick, shaded lilac to get kind of a blue color. So I just smushed that all on the background, and here you can see that I've cut it down 1/4 of an inch smaller than the background. I'm using that bold stripe for my background. I love a diagonal stripe for a border. And I'm going to layer some papers behind the photo. You can also see that I'm using that Details wood veneer, and I just used some white pigment ink to color it a little bit, and I'm going to rub a little bit of it off later so that it has kind of more worn wood look than the white that it has now. So that striped piece that you just saw me layer behind is from the cut apart sheet, and I'm just going to use a couple of pieces of that. And then I'm also layering up the yellow polka dot and some of this blue that's on the back of that striped piece. Now I have the extra pattern paper, and so I am just cutting into another sheet. But if you didn't have that, you could gut the background of the layout so that there's a hole in the background paper, because you won't see it anyway. It gets covered by the white cardstock. So you can still do that even if you don't have the extra pattern paper. So I'm just playing around with these layers a little bit, and I decide that I want those stripes on the same side. And now that I've got my layers down, I'm going to staple them with my tiny attacher, and I really like the way that looks. So I'm thinking about using this floral piece, but I just feel like the floral doesn't quite work in with the leaves as well as I want it to. So I decided not to use it. And I'm playing with the idea of using some of the feathers that are die cuts that came in the kit, but I'm going to set those aside for now and come back to them later because I can't quite decide how I want to do it. And I just really love the way that leaf background looks over the top of that inking. It's just beautiful. And this is not a look that I usually get with my Felicity Jane kits. I usually have something a little bit more clean and a little bit more graphic, but I really like the way this turned out. It's very fall, and I like that. I'm pulling out some of the tags. This is a tag that came in the kit, and that other little piece is from the cut apart sheet, and it's like a half tag, which I like because I only ever use half of a tag anyway, because I usually tuck it in somewhere. And I just went and punched a hole in it so that it looked like a real tag. And I almost always thread my tags, but in this particular instance, I don't do it. So always, except for sometimes, like Wilna Furstenberg says. I'm pulling out some of the stamps, and I'm going to stamp that one day on that little white tab thingy that's from the cut apart sheet. And I'm just stamping it in black. That's archival black ink from Close to My Heart. And I'm going to staple that onto the top left-hand side of the photo. Before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and I pulled out the stamp set, and I'm stamping some of these circles on the background. So the stamp set has a lot to do with dates, and that's really great for everyday scrapbooking and for planners and stuff like that. But because I wasn't doing a layout like that, I decided to just take the circle, which is meant to circle a date on the calendar, and just use it on the background. So I'm stamping tone on tone, the same colors that I used to smush on the background. I'm stamping just random circles all over the place, and I like just the little bit of texture that it adds to the background. I really love stamping on my scrapbook layouts, and if you want more ideas on this, I just started a new series every Saturday on my YouTube channel. I post a new video using scrapbooking or stamping in your scrapbooking. So be sure to check that out if you haven't already. I just posted my first one last Saturday. And here I'm just getting all those layers adhered. And like I mentioned, I'm stapling that one day to the top left of the photo using my Tim Holtz Tiny Attacher. And now I'm rubbing off a little bit of that white ink, just using a paper towel off of that wood veneer. And I like how it gives it a softer look than the wood, but it's not too white. It doesn't blend in too much to the background. And since I decided to use that craft tag, I decided it was really necessary for me to make that a little bit browner. So now I'm going to adhere the background because I did some mixed media work, some inking and stuff on the background. I'm using my score tape. I'm using some from, some that's called score tape, and then I'm using some American Crafts This to That tape that I got at the American Crafts Warehouse sale. And they work pretty much the same. For some reason, the backing's a little harder to get off the American Crafts one, but the adhesive is a little bit more clear. You can kind of tell. But either one works. And I'm leaving the outside edges unmounted because I want to be able to kind of rough up the edges of the paper. I like the dimension that gives. So here I'm just centering it on the background and pushing it down. Sorry, my big, huge sweatshirt arms. I love sweatshirt weather, though, and today was a sweatshirt kind of day. So I'm going to go ahead and get that cutout placed on the background. I seriously love that leaf background. And over those colors, I think it just looks so pretty. I'm almost a little bit sad to cover some of that up with the photo, but it has to be done. So I'm just using some Scotch Quick Dry adhesive to put little dots of adhesive all over the back of that die cut and pushing it down. And then I will get my layers stuck down with my photo. This is a photo that I took while I was in Tennessee in the Smoky Mountains with Tracy Claiborne, who is the one of the hosts of the Scrap Gals podcast. And we took a little trip to the Smoky Mountains while I was there, and it was just beautiful. And this layout is talking about kind of the details that I want to remember from being in the Smoky Mountains. So you'll see here in a minute, I'll go over the journaling when I put it on. So my title is going to be Details to Remember, and that circle that says remember is from the cut apart sheet. And I'm just using these Teresa Collins white tile alphabets to do the word to. And then the cut aparts are on sticker stock, so I just peeled off the backing there and I stapled it to the background with my tiny attacher, and it barely fit. I wish that Tim Holtz would make a long arm tiny attacher. If you're with me, let's all solicit Tim Holtz to make a long reach tiny attacher. So I'm playing around thinking about how I can bring a little bit of black up to that top left cluster, or right, sorry. And I'm going to use these two little hearts that are from the cut apart sheet. One's polka dot, one's striped, and just put those there. And now you can see that I've gone ahead and typed up my journaling, and I'm just cutting it into strips. This has become a new favorite of mine, to just use my typewriter and do some journaling strips. Of course, you could use your computer. I just really love the way that journaling strips allow you to put your journaling wherever you want to, and especially if you're doing mixed media in the background or using textured cardstock where it's a little bit harder to hand write on top of. And this is a perfect example of that. So I'm cutting a little bit off of these strips to make them really thin, and I'm going to nestle in the bottom couple strips of journaling in between the ascenders of the T and the L on the word details, just so that everything feels like it really belongs and it's really cohesive. And I'm just using my Scotch Quick Dry adhesive to adhere those strips down. And it's in a fine line bottle, which I love, and I'll be sure to link to as well. And I'm just placing the journaling strips in just kind of randomly. And like I mentioned, I'm talking about the details of this little drive that we took up in the Smoky Mountains. So it talks about each strip is a different thing that I wanted to remember. So the way the sunlight streams through the trees, the soothing sound of the stream tumbling over the rocks, the smell, not manufactured but fresh and clean, the way the clouds rested on the mountaintop, the quiet beauty of it all. And then it just says Roaring Fork because that was where we were driving. So There are also these little leaves that come in the cut file that are separate from the background, and I'm just gluing those on randomly on the left-hand side. And now I'm pulling back out the feathers to see if I want to add them, and I'm going to add 2 vellum feathers up at that top right cluster. And I will just adhere them here in just a second. I'm playing around to decide if I really want to use them. In the end, you can't see very much of them, but I like just the subtle detail that it adds, and I just love the little details of a layout. I'm also going to add this flare that has a heart on it, so there now will be 3 hearts up in that cluster. And I just wanted to bring a little bit more contrast up to the top, so adding that in seemed like a good idea. And I'm just using some of that American Crafts This to That tape adhesive to glue that down. And then I'm going to put this little paper clip that came in the kit that has a little bit of green ribbon on the top of it up at the top, kind of for a finishing touch. And then I'm pulling out my orange and a few gold sequins that also came in the kit, and I'm going to dot those around. And then lastly, I will add a little bit of Heidi Swap Gold Color Shine. I'm gluing those down with some Ranger Multi Matte adhesive, matte medium. It dries completely matte finish, so it's okay if a little squeezes out, and I really love it. So that's pretty much going to complete the layout after I add my Heidi Swap Color Shine. I hope that you've enjoyed, and I hope that you'll be sure to check out felicityjane.com to see the awesome kits over there, and the design team posts new layouts and different kinds of projects each weekday, so be sure to check that out as well. If you liked what you saw today, don't forget to give me a big thumbs up and subscribe if you don't already do so. And if you have any questions, just leave me a comment below or head over to my blog at craftyjenscow.com, where I'll have more information as well as links to all available products that I use. Thanks so much for watching, and I just wanted you to know I read and appreciate every sweet comment that you give me. It doesn't go unnoticed. I know that I wouldn't be here without you guys. So thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you very soon.